What's going on? What's going on? You're tuned in listening to the Believe in Your Purpose podcast. I'm your host, Demario. And on today, I have a very special guest. Okay. Like we've been preparing for this, it seemed like for quite some time, but it's been well worth it. And I just really want to get into it. I really don't want to take up a whole lot of time with just a whole lot of fluff. But let me just give you an intro in terms of what the Believe in Your Purpose podcast is about. The Believe in Your Purpose podcast simply is about entrepreneurs who are in this lifestyle. This is what they do day in, day out, taking on roles and responsibilities, making sure that deadlines and tasks are being taken care of in order to sustain, basically, at the end of the day. But most importantly, I want to know from an entrepreneur standpoint myself is how do another entrepreneur, how do they take care of their self-care? How do they take care of their mental at the end of the day? So, with that being said, I'm going to jump right into it. Introduce my first guest on the show. I have my man Kenneth, and just want to let him introduce himself, where he's from. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and let's just jump right into it, man. So, welcome to the show, Kenneth.
I appreciate you, man. Like I said, I'm already feeling the love, man. Even from our original encounter, man, I already knew it was gonna be a great conversation. So just a little bit about myself, man. Of course, y'all know my name is Kenneth. I'm originally from Ohio, so I live in California. Originally from Ohio, man. Um, just born in Georgia, raised in Ohio. Just really just grew up like any other kid who doesn't have like a father or anything like that. And so what I'm saying, just kind of growing up and single mom and just of course her doing everything that she needed to do to make sure she raised us. But then fast forward, um, I am currently now, so as far as what I do, I'm a content creator and video editor. I create content for multiple people, preferably like speakers, coaches, mainly speakers, coaches, and things like that. And so that's just my journey, man. I've been on this content creation process, man, for about a good 4 or 5 years, and so it's become really solid, man. So I'm just excited, man.
Yeah. Hey, it sounds like you're excited, man. And I can tell that we've had an opportunity to be on each other's social media platform. And so I'm always checking out your stories, and I'm like, yeah, he's really putting in the work. So I'm excited to really see and learn more about what it is that you do. So you're telling me
Yep.
that you are from Ohio, but you currently
hmm
live in Cali. So what is one of the biggest differences? I'm sure there's so many differences between Cali and Ohio, but what's one of the main differences for you coming from Ohio and to a much bigger city and state?
Um, yeah. So definitely a huge culture shock. Um, One, because where I'm from in Ohio, is super conservative, very conservative. Everybody kind of kept to themselves, you know what I'm saying? And if anybody was successful in my area where I grew up at, you had to know that individual, or two, you just had to hear from around town or whatnot about that person or those people. But then when I got to LA, it was just all like open. Everybody was just like, "This is what we doing," "This is the dream," And the thing that I appreciate about LA with Ohio, and much respect to Ohio, shout out to Ohio, that's my hometown. But the distinct difference that I saw with LA from Ohio is people are just willing to collaborate, man. And I think part of that comes from, you know, because there are more resources here in LA. You know what I'm saying? And it's one of those things where if somebody fails in LA, which I don't currently live in. I live in Stanford, California. But when I was living in LA, the thing I noticed that if people fail, they can always go to something different, because there was like there's so many opportunities out in LA compared to Ohio, man. So I think that's the big difference, man. And you know, as far as the people are even more open. As far as what their beliefs are, and just expressing themselves. You know what I'm saying? I think, especially now at this time, and one of the reasons why I appreciate being in California is because we're in a time now where it's about being your authentic self. Which
Right.
I felt like should have been like that before, but I mean, I'm just glad that we're in a place now where that's a thing. And so, if I would have, there would be two differences between the two, but that will be the difference. Those would be the differences that I've noted.
Got you. And I understand that, man. I really do. Like, that's a big difference. It's almost like me coming from Columbia, South Carolina, but living in, experiencing a much bigger city, like, for an example, Charlotte, North Carolina. Um,
Mhm.
Even though it's about an hour drive, you would be amazed at the difference, in terms of like the
Yeah.
culture, in terms of what people get into, in terms of like the collaboration, the more willingness that you experience. So I definitely understand that. Just want to piggyback real quick. You said that you were raised from a, single family home, basically without a father and everything. How
Mhm.
did that affect you personally? And at the same time, how did that give you drive to be able to do what it is that you're doing now?
So two things I had to come to realization of with that, bro, is one, um, I think the thing that helped me at first initially was one accepting that this situation is not of my responsibility. It's not of my control. It's not something that I caused. And especially being one who's very introverted, um, and one who, when somebody said, like, I take things, certain things literal, and I take things, certain things really to heart. So when it came to my dad, that's something I had to really work on. But one thing I had to, in that process, was understanding that that was out of my control. Him not being there was out of my control. And then secondly, man, I had to come to a resolve, that what if what if he doesn't show up once I'm an adult? Am I still going to relive in my mind of how I felt about him not being there? And I just got I'm like, no, especially when I got became an adult, it's one of those things where it's like people people will make you a priority when they want you to, when they want to, and I can't. I'm at a point now, especially in my life, like I can't control. I can't. I'm not here to dictate how people feel. I'm not here to dictate, what decisions people make, man. But I think at that time of my life, man, I had to really, that's something that I had. That was a process for me to really come to grips with, man. But it was hard, quite difficult, man. Especially, because of the fathers. That's the foundation. He's the foundation. He's supposed to be the foundation, And so that's how I was taught. That's how, you know. And interestingly, my mom and my aunt and them, they would teach me. They would tell me this stuff, even though our fathers weren't there. So it's more like this is, it's weird, But um, that's something I had to come to grips with that, man. One, that it was out of my control, and two, the resolve of, if it never happens, what are you gonna do?
Right, right,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah,
That's very
and
inspiring. Go ahead.
yeah. No, go.
No, I was just going to say that's very inspiring. That's very motivating within itself to hear, because there's going to be so many people eventually, hopefully, prayerfully, that's going to, see this video, this podcast. They're going to listen to it, and they're going to be people who are going to know, see themselves, hear themselves in that position who've been there before.
Right,
Or there may be somebody who's in that position right now and they're just like, I come from maybe not the best background, or maybe I come from a single family home. I feel like I can't do this because I don't have that male figure, that male father figure in my life, to be able to really be that backbone that I need. Me personally, I come from the same environment, so I definitely can relate to you. So yeah, that's definitely inspiring, man, to hear. And kudos to you for doing that, being able to really push through those challenging times. I want to get into your media company. It's KJ Media Productions. Tell me
yes,
about tell me a little bit about KJ Media Productions, more so in terms of what it is that you specialize in, some of the clients that you've worked with in the past, and basically how that experience has been for you these past 3, 4, 5 years for you.
Yeah. So to answer your first question, the company is again, of course, called KJ Media Productions. I'm actually in the process. I'm probably gonna be probably I may change the name of it, but that's something that I don't want. I would, but it's KJ Media Productions, and pretty much what we do is we help speakers, coaches, small business owners, um, entrepreneurs, just anybody who's really wanting to get their message and their content out there via social media. Um, our goal with it is to help them to create that content to put on social media that's going to attract that audience, that's going to attract that business, attract those leads. Because one thing I noticed, especially in the few years, man, that's that's the thing, is the small clips, putting them up on the Instagram, putting them on the Facebook and things like that. And I think that's our goal. Our goal is we're really the mediator, the middleman with between the speaker, coach, or whoever we're working with to their result. So that's ultimately what we're doing is to get them their result, but through social media content creation. So that's the main specialty, man. And of course, there's the video editing piece, but those are the main things: video editing and social media content creation. So that's what we do at KJ Media Productions, man. We help people to create content in hopes of helping them to build their business and stuff like that through this content creation on social media.
For sure, for sure. Let me ask you, working with your clients, what do you find to be some of their biggest challenges when it comes to social media creation?
Phew. So the main thing, man, is just people aren't active like they need to, especially with the business that they have, and that was the gap that I saw, yo. People were killing the game, or as far as like outside, and going out to the communities and things like that. I work with a gentleman named Sean Hart, and he's like he's the main guy I do work for. And then I have, my clients and things like that, but my clients here and there. But for Sean, he was out in the community doing work. He does fatherhood, so he's out in the community helping people on fatherhood, helping them to, you know, uh, just to impact the family. And one of the things that I noticed when as we talk, just looking at social media, is that he wasn't as active. And I think that's a common issue with most individuals who are wanting to get their content out on social media, is that they haven't been active for a very long time. And I mean, with that, we have to come up with a strategy and plan as to how to get them out there through social media. But that's the common thing I come across. It's not that people don't have the content, because they do. I feel like it's just they're not putting it out. They weren't putting it out there as consistent and not as much. And so I just wanted to be the bridge to that.
Right. I understand. Um, That's so funny to me though, man, because like I'm one of those ones who where I'm just not consistent as I want to be. But I'm working on it. I'm affirming that thing, but I'm not only affirming it, but I'm really trying to put, words into action, words into play, and really being consistent, because really consistency is key. It really is key.
Absolutely.
Let me speaking of consistency with content, from your perspective, how often do you feel someone need to post throughout the day? Because I hear so many people saying different things, such as maybe one time a day versus 3 to 5 times a day. What's your take on that?
So my go-to, especially if you want to build it out quicker, is to post something every day. And that doesn't necessarily mean twice a day, 3 times a day. It's just post once a day. However, I'll also say on the other end, it does depend on what you're looking for. And depends on like what need you're looking for, and what goals that you have in terms of where you're reaching, how you're trying to attract people via social media. But my go-to is always, man, if you can, and it don't necessarily have to be two times a day, three times a day. Now, I do that at times I do that with Sean's content, but that's because I have a system that allows me to do that. But when you're just starting out and you don't necessarily have that system, I think it's just for me, my go-to always be post once a day. And people say post twice a week, post once. But my thing is, if you wanted to go quick, if want people to get to know you quicker, once a day is the go to for me. If I were to tell somebody,
For sure. So you would just you would recommend posting at least once a day, at least for somebody who is just starting out. Because for somebody who's just starting out, I remember like even with once a day, sometimes that can be even challenging. It's like,
hmm
well, I'm not even really sure what I want to post. It's like, who's gonna really pay attention to this? What do I really have to say? Um, what do you recommend in terms of posting? And I know that can vary just depending on what people really get into in terms of their interest level. But what do you say in terms of someone should consider posting, as well as going back to posting one time a day? Is that just any time of day, or should that be during a specific time during the day in terms of attracting that audience that you're looking for?
so I would say, here's my thing. I always go back to strategy, man. Like especially if you're wanting to build that consistency on posting once a day. There has to be a strategy on the back end. So you need to be able to know what you're going to post. You need to be able to know what result you want to get from it. And these are things we have to know prior to us posting, right? Prior to us putting anything out there. But don't be that one that doesn't put anything out there just because you're in a state of over. Now, if you're like overthinking and all those things, my thing is most people that I've worked with who was in that process of overthinking, when we sat down, we realized that they had everything they needed. Like they knew what to do, that they knew what to do and everything like that. It was just them overthinking of what could I do? But it's like you already have it. You already know what to do. Like put it out. Um and so that's for me, man. When it comes to posting, man, you have to have a strategy. I don't believe in just posting just to be posting. You definitely have to have a strategy. You definitely have to um, know what result you want, and then of course within that process, man, engagement. Getting people to engage with your content. Getting people to have those conversations. You know what I'm saying? Because that's part of what brings business. You know what I'm saying? That's part of what brings more people back to your platform and things like that. But I always go back to that once a day, man. If you are gonna do it once a day, have your strategize how your content is going to be posted. Have it calendared. I don't know if I'm saying that word right, but put in the calendar to where like however what content you're going to put out, and just have it streaming when you do it. And so for me, I always go back to strategy. I always go back to strategy when it comes to posting, man, because that's two things I know is people just overthinking, or two people secondly people just don't know or don't have a strategy for what they want to post. And you have to have that strategy to be able to do it. But then you also have to not overthink so much that you don't get it out there. Because my whole thing has always been who misses out when you don't post? Whose life is not impacted right now because you didn't. You know what I'm saying? And all the stuff comes into play, but that central part, bro, is strategy. Right? You got to have a strategy, and the strategy depends on the individual. Like I can't give you necessarily my strategy on things like that because like I can and it works, but I'd rather you create a strategy, a system for yourself as far as your content. That's ultimately, man, what it is when I think about your question.
Yeah, for sure. And I see so many people who tend to struggle with that. Once again, I definitely see myself in that situation in the very beginning.
Oh,
But I also found, I know, right? Like we all been there, but you got to start somewhere, right? Like you
Yes,
literally
yes,
gotta just start. And I promise you, man,
yes.
like, bro, for the longest, I kept telling myself, like, like just go, just jump, like just start somewhere. I would always hear Steve Harvey saying, um, you always think about the what ifs in terms of what if it
Mhm,
don't work, what if this,
mhm,
what if that, but you never really tend to ask yourself in the same at the same time, what if it do work,
mhm.
what if it really do work for me, what if I just literally take the risk and jump this first time around and it
Right.
really does work, because at the end of the day we all have value, we all have something to give to the world, we all have something that somebody is out there looking for. So just to get out our own way sometimes,
Mhm.
that's just a hurdle accomplished within itself. So that's good to hear you say. Just listening to you talk about that, I have a friend of mine, and I'm actually going to get them to go back and listen to the replay at some
Okay.
point, because I think they are really going to, hopefully, they're going to really be able to pick up these gems that you've been dropping, such as just start somewhere. And I'll even share with you one of their biggest struggle right now, and it is just literally they have everything in them to say. They have so much to say, so much to share,
Mhm.
but it's their personal opinion of how they look at things that tend to get in the way of business. Um,
Right. Right.
and it's like I try to come at them and share with them so many different ways of, don't allow. I mean, yeah, you got to have your integrity. I get that. I understand that, but
Right.
it's at some point where how do I guess my question for you now would be, as a follow up is, how do you how do you how does one get out of their way to just basically be able to start and not just like beat themselves up over the head, overthinking for whatever reason? What would you really recommend from that standpoint?
So for me, this is what I've done. And, people do things differently, but for me, man, I just had to listen to listen to people, like watch different videos and things like that that because my thing is, for me, I'm an audio learner, like more than I am a visual learner. And so it's easy to snap me in when I can hear it rather than like seeing it. And so, you know, coming across people like Eric Thomas, coming across, folks like Inky Johnson, people who, you know, from the grind, like they're doing it and they're making it happen, and just them talking about how to get out of your mental blockage and things like that. I know ET has talked about it quite a bit, but the thing that's gonna go to for me is watching different speeches, watching that one particular speech that is gonna get you out of that rut. You know what I'm saying? But that's what worked for me. It could be, you can do various different things, but I think one of the reasons why people get so stuck is because they don't know. Many of them don't know like what they're going to post. Like they don't have no idea, like, that when they post, they have an idea what kind of results they're going to get. They have an idea about them. It's just an idea, right? And when you don't know, oftentimes when you don't know, you get stuck. Oftentimes when you don't have that plan, that strategy, you get stuck. You know what I'm saying? And it's gonna be tough to, especially with that daily, every doing it every day. But in that process, man, things I've learned is that you got to be creative. I actually just saw a couple people post something yesterday. Coach posted something saying that they didn't feel like posting today. You know what I'm saying? But they posted on not wanting to post today.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? So you still post,
yeah.
but you're posting about not. You know what I mean? So it's like
Uh,
you can you can always be creative as far as how to do that, man. But usually for me, I got a speech. I got a couple of speeches for sure that I listen to, and I only name the two guys, Eric Thomas and Inky Johnson, because they're the two people that can really get to me. Um, but that's usually what I do, man. Now that I'm in a flow and things like that, and I understand, you know, the people that I'm serving with my work and things like that. I understand what they need, and then I've been in it for a while too. So it's kind of like it's kind of one of those things where it's like kind of becomes natural to you, or like second nature, just to be able to provide that content and things like that. But it takes time, it takes time, but it just takes for you making a decision every day, or however much time you'll do every week to like post and being consistent at that. Even if it is that one day where you say, I don't feel like posting today. Let me post on something. No, I don't feel like posting today. You know what I'm saying? So uh that's where I would go with it, man, as far as what to do as far as get out of that mental blockage, man. But that's always my go-to.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, and that ET, Inky Johnson, man, ET for sure. What is it? When you want to succeed and as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful. That's a very
Hmm.
powerful statement, man, for
Hmm.
sure. I know that it's Les Brown and TD Jakes is one of my top two for me. You need that influence. You need those words. You need that inspiration, man. You need something that's gonna keep you pushing. Let me ask you this: as a business, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, having so much of content, being just I'm sure you start early in the morning and probably have a lot of late nights.
Yep.
How do you self care? How do you take care of your mental at the end of the day? What does that look like for you?
Well, ooh, so one, I had to not take on as many clients as I was taking on. I think sometimes it's not a thing of that we're necessarily doing anything wrong as far as like with content. I think for me, it was I was working with I had too many clients. I was working with too many folks, and I think for me, just put my schedule, put things on my schedule. You know what I'm saying? And um, for me, when it comes to balancing that healthcare, that self care, not taking on as many clients. I work with very few people now. Um, and I do that every month just because I understand one, I got my mental health is important. My wife, you know what I'm saying, our family, you know what I mean? And so I think one of the things that helps me, man, is I prioritizing my work and everything around time with my wife and family, and time around my mental health. So I think that's what works for me, knowing that I can still create content and there's still a bunch of it, but I don't have to I don't have to try to toil or anything like that. And then the other thing is, um, I like to go outside. I like love going outside. I love just going out and just seeing the view, especially when you're editing. You're creating. You can be in front of this computer all day. So it's kind of just
Mm.
like, you just got to get out. You got to get out. You got to get some air. You know what I'm saying? Um, and then another thing too is, um, when it comes to self care, I'm very big on like meditation. You know what I'm saying? Very big on meditation. Very big on listening to little what you call, I don't know if you call them those musicals, instrumentals where you kind of like you can listen while you're sleeping. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like the
yeah,
so I really like to listen to those, and sometimes I actually had that stuff playing as I'm editing, just because um it's gonna be a better flow for me. You know what I mean? So um, me taking care of my mental health, I think me stepping away with one, not taking on too many clients, because and the thing is, I was at a point where I was at this point I was at my peak, and people were reaching out constantly, and I was just trying to take on folks and stressing myself out. You know what I mean? And I remember getting coached by somebody, and that's the conclusion they came with. They were like, "Bro, you got too many clients. Like you got too many people you working with. You gotta remove some, or like, or take on smaller projects and then having them go. You know what I'm saying? But as far as your main clients, like that's who you want to focus on. But for me, man, I had to relieve many clients. Of course, after the work, after the time and everything, after after they got everything fulfilled that they needed. Um, and then of course I'm always taking the time to just go outside and just see the view. You know what I'm saying? And the beautiful thing about it is in California, you always got that good weather in California. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's like what do you miss? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like what, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, who wouldn't want to go out here and see this California, experience the California air, man? But those are the two things that I like to do, man. And then of course something I'm sharing probably with your audience is of course I'm in therapy. Um, and that's for other things, but it also really helps me too in terms of, you know, being able to work within my work in my edits and content creation stuff. You know what I'm saying? So those are usually my go-tos when it comes to mental health and taking care of self and water, 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 water. Isaiah over and over. Water, 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 water. And I mean, bruh, like you know what I'm saying? Like water.
Gotta have it, bro. Gotta
Um,
have it.
you know what I mean? So I mean that's just that's my process in all in a nutshell.
For sure. For sure, man. Therapy is very good. I'm looking to get into therapy myself because I believe we all need it and we all can benefit from it. You don't necessarily have to be going through anything for the need of
Absolutely.
therapy, but I just think that it's it's a good tool to always have. I have another question for you, just as
Mhm.
a follow up. Speaking of your mental and taking care of yourself, self care, how do how does Kenneth deal with a difficult client?
Ooh, how to deal with the dual plan. I'm trying to probably the last time I had to deal with a clip. So there was a client one who was um they got kind of salty because my prices had went up. And this was after I moved. This was after I moved to California. And you being in California, I'm yeah. I'm gonna raise my prices up because we in California.
Right,
It's a whole new marketplace. It's a whole new space. Living in California is totally different than living anywhere else.
for
You
sure.
know what I'm saying? And um, that was the thing. So somebody had an issue with me raising my prices, and of course I just had to continue to express this client. I said continue to express them one what my worth is, like things that I've done for this person in the past that is well worth over what I've just ran my price up on. So I could like charge more, but this client got upset. You know what I'm saying? And I just I think for me just standing on what I'm doing, standing on what it is, where my process is, and what I'm sharing with them. And I think that's what we have to do, especially when and as content creators, as creative spirit, man. Is you get so hard in creating, you don't see that you don't see the side of dealing with the clients and dealing with um, any kind of other business avenues regarding content creation, man. But it's real, and I think for me, it's just having to stand flat footed on what my prices were.
For sure.
And not a disrespectful way, but just I think really just implying to her, what this is really worth and why I'm charging this. And I think I think that really came clear to her because a week later I got a call, and that was the conversation of, hey, I understand, that you raised your prices, so I get that. It was just I just didn't know. You guys didn't know that I was good. And I think that was the thing because I didn't like inform people, which I felt like I could have done. Now that I think about it, what I could have done in the beginning is I could have informed people more. I could have informed people from the beginning that, hey, I'm about to raise my prices up. You want to decide you wanted to move forward or anything like that. But I think because, and not anything of my fault, but I think because I was I was just in the I was just in it, and I didn't necessarily think about that, and so now I'm at a place where I can, especially with clients, where I can let them know up front what it is my expectations. They can let me know up front what their expectations are, and we're both clear on everything. Me and the client, we're both clear on everything, and we go from there. But I think why I messed up at the beginning is I didn't always make things clear in the beginning, and that caused people to take advantage of me.
Mhm.
Um, they cause people to, I mean, be honest with you, man. People need people these invoices, bro. Like I don't know what it is. Like people lagging on the invoices, but I think a lot of it came from, again, I didn't make people aware in the beginning what it was that I was expecting, one of the things that I was looking for, and there was like no conversation. And so now there's more of a conversation of, people I work with. Hey, these are all the things that we can do. This is what you're saying you can do. We get that. Here's here's how I can work with you. Here's how I can't. You know what I'm saying? Those conversations I didn't necessarily have in the beginning, but I think what helps me, man, is establishing those boundaries and establishing and really having those conversations, those hard conversations in the beginning, man. That's something that I definitely didn't do before, but I'm doing it now.
Yeah, that's really good information too. You said a lot of good stuff right there. Just to piggyback, you said having boundaries. That is so important. Having
Hmm.
boundaries. And knowing how to separate them from your personal and business life.
Absolutely.
Boundaries for sure. And man, going back to that value thing, and knowing your value, knowing your worth, when it comes to like setting your expectations of your pricing and everything, and not really wavering from that, and sticking to it, even if that means that, for whatever reason that they're
Hmm.
not comfortable with paying that price or don't want to give you their business. It's okay. It doesn't mean that it's anything wrong with what it is that you're doing. It just means that,
Right.
hey, it's somebody for everybody. Um, so I
I just
definitely
don't
can
work for you
respect
at this
that
time. You know what I'm saying? That, and I think that's the thing I had to always come to grips with, is that if you can't pay, that just means I'm not for you.
for sure.
And in the beginning, I would get mad, and I would, people don't know my work, they don't see it, they don't see, and I would be upset, and my wife would just be like, man, like you, like what's going on, and coming to the realization of reason I was so frustrated and stressed out was because I was putting it on myself. Like I didn't again, I didn't make people know in the beginning what it was that I could do and what my expectations were. And I think that'll save a whole lot of folks, man, especially in this creative space. That's gonna save a whole lot of folks, man, having those conversations in the beginning, bro.
For sure. That's a lesson that, hey, I'm taking my notes, bro, for sure. I got it written down for sure. That's something that everybody, it doesn't matter what line of business you're in, you can definitely take that away and always apply it to your business. One last question for you.
Yep.
Um, Speaking of the Believe in Your Purpose podcast, what will you have to say to the viewers, who's going to watch this? Um, to that person who just for whatever reason, going back to that, taking a risk, jumping,
Hmm.
doing what it is that feels right on the inside, what would you say, um, in terms of just going after it, whatever goal or dream that is, what would you say to the people?
Yeah. So one thing I would say is somebody needs what you have, and by you holding on to it, you're holding on to somebody else's potential freedom. You're holding on to somebody else's potential unlocking of their purpose. I often tell, my guy, his name is Jamal. They call him the 9 to 5 millionaire. But he always says, one man's decision is connected to a whole bunch of people's purpose. And I think for me, if I were to share something, man, is understanding that what you have is connected to a whole bunch of people's purposes and their freedom. it's connected to a whole bunch of people in many ways that you don't know and won't know until you actually act on it. And so that, and then also is when it's not about you. You making it about you when you don't. You know, you're making it about you when you don't post. You're making it about when you don't put out that program, when you don't put out that content that you know is going to change people's lives. People are not going to be able to see it because you're not doing it. And so my thing in the big central as far as this is, somebody needs what you have, and you can't hold on to it. That gift that you have, give it away, because the right person that needs it is going to get it, but they can't get it if you don't give it. You feel what I'm saying? And I think a lot of times we want to wait for certain things to happen and come to us when it's like, yo, we got to do our part. There's a gift that God has given each and every one of us that we have to activate. And I've always known that, you know, your gift is what God gave to you, but your gift to Him is what you do with it.
Facts.
You
Facts.
like, if you don't do anything with it, one, you make God look bad because, and I don't know any believers in that, but you make your Creator look bad because he's the one that gave you the gift. And then secondly, all those people who are still bound. I mean, just think about that. Like, think about all the people who are bound right now. Think about the people right now who are looking for the answer that you have, and you got to give it to them. So for me, man, if I were to say anything, somebody needs what you have, man, and that is not about you.
Hey, man, that's perfectly said. Couldn't have said it any better, bruh. That was so
Man.
dope. Oh man, you hit me in the soul with that one right there for sure. Like real talk. Like, yeah, that was perfectly said. One more question for you. Where do you see yourself in the next 3 to 5 years?
Definitely see myself continuing to grow out the company, man. I'm in the process of now just scaling. I think scaling is a big thing for me now, and so I'm working with a number of a few individuals on like content stuff. Working with one guy in particular with video edits who, you know, if I don't have, there's a project that I know I can't do, I'll give it over to him. But I'm just in this process, man, especially with my business, man, with my work. I'm looking to scale it all, you know. So that's the focus for the next 3 to 5 years, be able to scale it to the point to where I don't have to do as much work, because time is important to me, you know what I'm saying? And so that's my goal, man, to be able to scale my business and have it to where I can hire people on full time, and you know, and they do a great deal of the work while I'm just managing. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's my goal, yo, as far as for the 3 to 5 years, as far as business, video editing, content creation stuff.
For sure. That's dope, man. That's a hell of a plan, man. Look forward to seeing you grow, brother. Much success to you. And one last thing, how can the people find you? How can they link up with you? How can they stay connected? Let them know.
Yeah. So of course you can follow my company KJ Media Productions, Facebook. You follow me on Facebook, Instagram at Kenneth Graham. I'm always like either I'll post something or I'll share like a video or something that I've done. But yeah, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram, man, at Kenneth Graham or KJ Media Productions for my company.
Hey man, listen, this has been so dope, bro. I have enjoyed this thoroughly. I didn't want to
Man,
take up too much of your time, bro, but I have been
you good, bro.
so looking forward to this day, like you being the first guest on the show and
Yeah,
everything. Like, I'm like, hey man, I'm appreciative. I'm very grateful for this opportunity. And I hope that we definitely stay connected and you come back and we do a part two and a part three and see where you at.
I
So,
love it. Let's go.
definitely can't wait to look forward to see where things end up at. So I appreciate you being on the podcast. And if that's it, if you don't want to say anything else, man, I'm just gonna hey pretty much end this on a good note and just want to wish you well, man. Thank you for being here on today.
Appreciate you, brother, man. I really enjoyed this conversation, man. And I do have to say that is I see a dog back there, man. My dog is in the living room right now, man. So
What kind you got, bro? What you got?
yeah, he's a poodle bichon. Poodle bichon, 5 years old, and he was a rescue dog. He was a rescue dog. We got him a couple. We got him actually right before the pandemic, right before we even knew there was gonna be a pandemic. We got him in March 2020, and then all of a sudden this pandemic happened. So it's just like, dang, like we didn't even know it was gonna happen. But we got him in March 2020, man, and had him ever since, man. He's a bundle of joy, man. That's my guy, man.
What's his name? What's his name?
Teddy, Teddy.
Teddy. Oh,
Yeah,
bro.
and I actually see some pictures too when yeah,
Yeah, for sure, man. Let me see some pictures of him. Teddy,
yeah.
listen, haven't I've had this is Diesel, Red Nose, but I've had Diesel now for about his birthday. I want to say Christmas Eve, but he'll be three
Okay.
years old. And I got Diesel man at the right time in my life when I was really facing what I didn't even realize at the time, which is what we call depression and
Right,
anxiety, and
right.
ADHD and so many of other things, and just having him was just at the perfect time in my life. And bro, I can't imagine my life without him, to say the very least. I just couldn't imagine.
Man, man. Even when my wife and I go places, and sometimes he'll come. Most of the time he'll come with us, but there are times when, especially when we're working through now, having him to understand that there are times you're going to have to be here at the house. Um, but that's you know, yeah, he's a dog on his own, man. But um, I love him, man. I love him. That's my guy. You know what I'm saying? Even when we're out, I'm sad. My wife got to look over me like, you okay? Like, you good? This is my, you know what I'm saying? Like, hey, you know what I mean? So it's like I can't hey, I can't deny, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, we love him, man. That's our dude. He's a rescue dog, so we got him from a shelter, and it was a game changer decision. We were actually it was either between him and his brother, whom his brother name is Peanut, and interestingly, his brother was much more independent than Teddy was, because his Peanut he would just be running and everything like that. He'd go to people and run and all of that stuff. He was just really independent dog in his sport. But Teddy, he was kind of more like outstandish, more just like, I just go around people who I'm kind of comfortable with, and I knew I was like, yeah, we want that one, we want that dog right
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's been a blessing, man. He, like I said, he in there probably sleep right now, probably sleep. It is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is, man. Like he loved to
Yeah,
snore. He snored like, man, his snore is so loud at night, bro. I'm like, bro,
yeah,
you're killing me. But I
yeah.
wouldn't change it for nothing in the world, man. All the best, bro. Thank you so much for being on the podcast today, bro.
Appreciate you, man. We
Yes,
definitely
sir,
gonna
man.
keep in touch, man.
Yes, sir, for sure. All right. Take care. Tell your wife I say hello.
I will.
For sure.